Omid and Kojo Show.
Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your boy Omid. Welcome to the Omid and Kojo Show. I'm here with my main man, Kojo, off the Omid and Kojo Show. And today we got to talk about some shit. We really need to talk about some shit. What are we talking about, Kojo?
Well, first off, I'm Kojo from the Omid and Kojo Show.
And I'm Omid from the Omid and Kojo Show.
Omid. Second off, we're going to be talking about that other gender. We're going to be talking about females.
Women.
We're going to talk about the women. We're going to discuss our views and speculate a bit about why there's not that many girls that do tricking, why none of them can triple cork yet, what is going on. We're going to get to the bottom of it.
Bunch of different things.
We're going to get to the bottom of all of it. We're also going to talk about who is the best tricker and how do we judge who the best tricker is. Now, we've seen your comments. I saw someone ask for more controversial topics, so I hope this will satisfy your palate. But yeah, I've seen a few people. Well, I've seen it discussed a few times. People talking about who's the best tricker and saying this tricker's the best, this tricker's the best. But no one really talks about how we can decide who's the best. They just make these statements. Whenever someone lands a new thing, instantly everyone thinks they're the best, and then next week it's someone else. But yeah, I think there's a lot more to it than that.
100%.
We're going to get into. So, let's get started then, Omid.
So, women. I have mixed emotions about the female presence within tricking. For the women that are involved in tricking, keep going. You're doing great. But at the same time, we need more. But there's a big issue with a lot of the things that stop women from getting into tricking. I'm not going to say that I know why women aren't getting into tricking as much as men, but I think I have a bunch of different reasons that are definitely factors in that and that play big roles. For example, the legitimacy of tricking. I think it's a lot harder, especially for the younger generation, to get involved in a sport when you're at the age where your parents are taking you to an establishment to go and do a thing. If there's not really a legitimate establishment to go and train tricking and no one knows what it is, your parents are going to be like, well, I'm not going to take you to this gym full of sweaty, angry, shirtless men that don't really have any order and go and do these flips. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
I've never really thought about the parent side of things. Because I just don't really think about that. But when I first started going to gym, then it would be my mom that took me. Now, if my mom was taking me to gym and I was a 15, just turning 16-year-old girl, then it probably would have been quite different.
Yeah.
So I joined the adult class where the minimum age was like 16, and it was basically mainly like a bunch of weird, sweaty men. Yeah. And yeah, it probably would have been a little bit different, like the way I'd interact there, how involved my parents would be in it. Because after about 3 or 4 weeks, my parents stopped taking me to sessions and I made my own way there. And I got back at like half 11 at night.
Yeah, that's a massive
if
issue.
I was a girl, they wouldn't have done that. I don't know. I wouldn't let my 16-year-old daughter go to this place and come back in the night by herself on 2 buses. So it would have all been quite different. I wouldn't have been able to train as much because I would have had to rely on lifts and stuff. Yeah. And I think there's probably a lot of girls who are affected by that sort of thing. Yeah, because I know how much of an effect it has on just the younger generation with their training. Because, like, for example, Matt. So there's a kid who trains at I say he's a kid. He's like how old? 17, something like 16. He trains, but he lives pretty far from the gym, so he has to rely on lifts and stuff, and he can't train as much as he would like to, because obviously his mom's got work commitments and stuff, and it's like. It's pretty long, but he is of an age where he could just get the bus or train or whatever. But as a girl, it would change completely. And I think even aside from getting to and from gym, think of the first gym, well, the first UTX. We used to train at a gym and it was literally a warehouse with no heating, a dirty floor, and it was just a really weird setup. It wasn't the sort of place where I'd feel comfortable to allow my child, the same way they would in gymnastics, to go and spend like 8, 9, 10 hours a day there. Whereas with gymnastics, because it's a legit thing and the gyms are all nice, state-of-the-art facilities and stuff generally, then it removes that barrier, I think.
Yeah, I've never really thought about this. I genuinely, until now, hadn't thought about that. But while getting decent at tricking, when I was between the ages of like 16 to 18, and a lot of other people that age, you do a lot of like weird, sketchy shit to get good.
Yeah.
Which would be really weird for a girl to be doing. I know obviously some would, and that would be fine. But lots of the stuff I did, like going out training in the night and finding secluded spots.
Well,
and
I mean,
parks,
I
it
think-
wouldn't have been quite as safe.
No, I think it's a bit different for the way that you were training when you were coming up, because you did approach it slightly different to the vast majority of people.
More mental.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, more mental.
Because at the end of the day, you are a lunatic.
Yeah.
If you haven't already realised, I've known this man for 7 years now. It's crazy how long I've known you.
Yeah.
7 years. We've spent every day together.
Too
It's foul.
much time.
I hate it. But yeah, he's a lunatic. But yeah, I think those kind of barriers, they can hold quite a big impact, because then, and also there's the other side of it. When you're 15, 16, when you're a girl, generally you're not going to be as mental as a 15, 16-year-old boy.
Yeah, I think girls care more about...
the way they're perceived.
Yeah.
I think
just
so.
natural.
From my experiences.
I mean, obviously some won't.
Yeah.
But just as a general.
And this is nothing that we say here is just, you know, this is the way it is and there's no other option, because there's always people that don't apply to the rule.
But we're looking at the rule, really. We're looking at the wide scale.
Yeah.
The percentages. Why is there so many more men than women? Because at UTX, at our gym, there's a lot of kids that train, and a pretty high portion of them are girls. Like the younger ones, it's kind of like 50-50 really, the ones who do tricking. So I don't think there's an innate lack of interest in tricking from girls. I think a lot of them can get interested in it.
However, you talking about that, the people specifically at our gym, there's a massive difference between the approach from, because I teach a class on a Wednesday usually, and it's a very small group. It's usually just the elite kids that are really showing potential and really pushing, and I don't need to go and teach that, but I really enjoy going to teach it, because I get to kind of influence the way that these kids who have a lot of potential could be incredible further down the line. But the way that the guys approach to the way that the girls approach, they'll age range from like 8 to 13, I think. And the guys tend to just not stop doing stuff, even if it's stuff that they're not meant to be doing. Whereas the girls, they're a lot more relaxed and they're not as hype. And I think you kind of need the discipline, but at the same time, you do need a little bit of hype when it comes to tricks and stuff like that.
And that's one of those things that's kind of, I don't know, some people argue socially constructed, some people argue biologically. But whichever way it is, it's still a thing that's happening. Girls don't tend to be able to go mental. Well, they don't want to go mental in the same way. Yeah. Like you'll often see boys at the gym like screaming and just running and chucking themselves, but you don't really see a girl do that. It's
always a little bit more reserved and thought out. But then because there's benefits to that.
Yeah.
But there's also drawbacks. So it means you're a lot less likely to progress quickly, generally. But it also means that further down the line, because you've got that methodical approach, it means you'll probably be able to grasp things a lot easier than someone who's just running at it. But there's so many things that surround the lack of women.
Yeah.
And what do you think other key problems are?
All right, we'll finish identifying a few more of the reasons, and then we're going to get to solving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
I think
remember,
we can figure this one out.
Don't forget, we're not scientists.
Yeah, we're not actual scientists.
Not scientists.
I may have my own lab. But
it's not that kind of lab.
No, another reason. YouTube. Think about this one.
That's a very good one.
Apparently, it's like 80-20 men to women who watch YouTube.
Yeah.
So if there's a lot more boys watching YouTube, that's when most people find out about tricking and free running, the flips world in general. That's how most people get into it nowadays. The people who trick, they don't normally get into it through gymnastics as much. Like kids people who message me, they're normally saying they found out about tricking from YouTube. Nearly all of the time. Yeah. So I think that's a factor.
Well, also, so not just so this is for the people, the current women that are tricking. Start doing something with YouTube. Because that's a whole market. I'm giving you something here. It's a whole market. You start being the first female tricker that vlogs. The cities, you're onto a gold mine there.
We need a female tricker YouTuber.
That would do a lot of good things, and you'd probably be able to build a pretty strong business through that, and you'd be able to build a very good brand because the first person that jumps on that is gonna make bank. Yeah. I'm telling you, because that's so marketable. But it's so unbelievably marketable. Yeah,
I mean they don't necessarily. I'm saying for tricking. For the best for tricking, it would be great if they were really good at tricks.
Yeah, it would be great.
And then that which brings us on to, why are the girls that do trick not that good? There's a couple that are pretty good. There are some really good, like Olivia Rando. If you've seen her, she's really
great,
good.
Yeah.
And then Ashley Adams, pretty strong.
Yeah.
And obviously Mackenzie. I don't know if I see tricks from her every so often. She's good at tricks, but no one's really on the level of like the elite tier, like pushing tricks. There's no one who can compete against the Japanese boys. Well, that's anyone in the world actually.
Yeah, but there's no female. I think it's safe to say that there's no female that would come even close to even just the higher tier of men.
Yeah, if they're like, they wouldn't be able to compete against anyone at Adrenaline.
No,
really.
No. And the thing is, this isn't us trying to point and be like, you need to get better or you're not good enough or whatever the case may be. But if you just look at the way it actually is, I don't want to offend anybody, but it is the truth.
But how can we do better? Because you got to think about why this is. Because there's obviously the physical differences, and I thought about this, and then I thought, well, how come you got like Simone Biles doing double lay with a half, like really easy on the floor? So they can clearly be strong enough. Women can clearly have enough physical power to be doing like triple cork combos easy. A woman could easily raise few switches to triple cork and stuff like that, and like real high level power tricks. But now this only hit me the other day. I only realised this recently. Think about all those girls who are super powerful gymnasts. To be that way, they've had to condition since they were tiny kids, like for a long time. Whereas girls starting tricking, lots of them will be kind of mid to late teens.
Yeah.
And then you think about guys don't need to condition to be good at tricks. Men can start tricking at like 15, 16, and if you're kind of active, you'll have plenty of power. And if you've tricked for about a year, you can build enough power to be doing double full combos, and people do triple falls within like a year and a half if you're a guy. But if you're a girl, I don't think that power comes as naturally.
It won't come as naturally.
Just by tricking, you can get. I think they need to do more of the conditioning. So I think it is more work for girls to get as powerful as guys.
It is more work, but from my own personal experience, because there's this girl, I forgot her name. She had a bad wrist for a long time. So she'd only do, I think it was bad wrist or something like that. She'd only ever do one-handed round-offs. I think her name was Casey. I can't remember, but she was doing one-hand round-off triple falls. Yeah,
I remember her.
Did she have a tumbling background?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, she's one that you can tell. I think she trained like her whole life.
Yeah.
Because they're really strong when they've trained since they're kids because they've done all this conditioning and stuff. But I think starting later, men just naturally have way more muscle mass.
Still though, I've never met
easier for men.
From the people that I've met that are getting into tricks, when having those discussions, for example, I've had discussions with women and we've spoken about my approach to training and stuff like that, and they've asked me questions so that they can implement it into their training. Then I'll speak to them again a few months later, and they haven't changed anything.
That's the same as men.
Yeah, but
that's the same as men. Think how many guys you've given advice to, they don't listen to.
Listen to what I'm saying though, because they have a smaller amount of females doing tricking. I think someone needs to be that shining light. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, for me, model. Exactly, yeah. Because, like, if all of a sudden there was one girl that was just killing it, imagine there was just the Shosei, but the female version. I feel like it would change everything for female tricking.
Well, they've kind of got that in free running. Well, not like the Shosei, but she is good.
Who?
That Lilu Rule. or whatever. I don't know how to say her name. Lilu, maybe. She's French.
Oh,
She's
her.
like 14.
Yeah. I know the one. Yeah,
double
yeah.
corks off stuff. And
Yeah.
cast back.
Yeah.
Some harder things as
Yeah,
well.
no, I see. Yeah.
She is like decent.
Yeah. But
so they've got one of them.
But that's my point, though. I really think that especially because of the online presence it would have, because think about it like this. This is one gripe that I have surrounding female tricking that isn't females' fault. When, for example, I think the way that women are praised by the guys in tricking for doing something that doesn't necessarily deserve that amount of praise, I think has negative effects on the growth and the progression of that person. Because if let's just negate it to likes and comments and stuff on Facebook, just because it's an actual measurable thing. If some man posted a clip of them doing dub, and people are doing 5 dubs out here now, 4 dubs consistently, whatever. If the guy is going to get like, I don't know, 50, 60 likes, but then if a girl posted that, it would get like 500 likes. It means that the girl then, whether they realize it or not, may not push as hard because they know that the respect and the praise that they'll get, you don't need to work as hard for.
Well, I think that is true, because I know I motivate myself pretty internally. Like any praise or negative stuff, it doesn't really affect how I feel about my own tricks anyway. It might upset me if it's nasty. It might make me feel a bit happier if it's nice, but it doesn't really affect my opinion of how good I am at tricking. I look at it very like rationally.
I try and do the same, but I think let me just say though, before you carry on, that's not the common way of approaching things.
Yeah, well, if you let me finish.
I'm sorry.
But when I started out, then it would have been way different. I wasn't like that because I was much younger, and I didn't think in that same way. But I got to the level of, I taught myself like J-step double corks before I ever received any praise from anyone. Like I was just training, no one would care at all when I was training. When I got my first corks and stuff, then obviously no one would care. If I was a girl, then people would have been going mad for it.
Yeah.
And if at that time everyone was going mad whenever I did a cork, then I probably wouldn't have pushed to like double cork so fast. So even with me, then I could see how that could affect things.
But at the end of the day, I wouldn't say that you should be trying to base because it's not a good way to go. Don't base your life on the amount of likes and comments and views and all that sort of thing, because you just got to do it for you.
For example, this podcast.
Yeah.
I know there's only 10 of you watching it, but that's fine because we do it for fun, and we also do it to improve our talking skills. So we're getting better at conversing and kind of presenting that in front of a camera, which is a really useful skill that ties into both of our jobs. Yeah. And for those of you that do watch it, hopefully you get something out of it too and you enjoy it.
Cecil, we see you.
Yeah, we see you,
bro.
We love you, Cecil.
Yeah.
Thanks
thank you for everything, Cecil. Yeah,
you keep us going. But yeah, my point is you've got to do everything for yourself anyway. Like the only trickers that get good are the ones who are doing it for themselves, really. In the long run. But I can see how at the start then it's kind of not so much like that for people. And that's where it differs. Like girls tend to not get past that point because every single time they ever do a gainer or something at gym,
everyone goes crazy.
Everyone's going crazy. And I see that more in America than here.
But that's just because there aren't as many girls. And
True,
when they are,
but in American gyms, it's like, I don't know, they don't have to do much.
I think it's a really bad thing for people because it kind of it stunts your improvement from like the way it is. It's just ruining things. Like, and I'm not saying don't praise people. I'm not saying if you want to praise someone, don't give it too much thought and be like, well, I'm not going to praise them because they might not get any better.
Yeah, just do it when it's
necessary. You know what I mean? Like,
I do it based off if people are pushing to their limits. If they're kind of working toward, like you can see they're clearly trying something that is hard for them. Yeah. It's like around their sort of max. That's when I'm like, nice.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're just kind of doing something pretty comfortably, then it might be good. I'll be like, cool. But I'm not really going to react unless they're like pushing to something else. Or they do something really interesting and creative that I've not really seen.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, what else do you think?
I don't know. I think overall, the best way for this to be solved on a mass scale, I think, is having some female voices in the community. I know there are some. I know there's like euphoria tricking and stuff, but there needs to be someone who's really, really passionate about tricking.
And really
not to knock
it.
anyone about not being passionate, but I mean to like a crazy point. So anyone who's getting offended, thinking, "Oh, I'm passionate about tricking," I mean to the point where it's far more important than your job. It's more important than your friends. It's more important than your family. It's the most important thing in your whole life, and it's all you really want to do, and you can't stand much else. I need someone who loves it that much, because when someone loves it that much, then they can be the role model for everyone else. And even though everyone else isn't going to be as like close to that, we just need like a female Johan, basically, for people to strive to be like. Because if there was a girl knocking out triple corks easy, that doesn't mean that a load of other girls will do triple cork straight away.
It just means that the overall level,
double cork level, like be a lot more girls getting to that sort of level.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I agree with that. That kind of wraps it up. I mean, well, you see, I think there's a bunch of different things that we could go into, and if there is anything else that you think we've missed and that you think we should discuss, then let us know in the comments, and we could maybe do a revised version.
I know from us talking about this before, there are quite a few things that we just haven't mentioned right now that I can think of, but we don't want to go on about this for ages. Let us mention those things in the comments. Yeah. We'll try and get back to you. If you got an interesting comment, we'll get back to you. They've been a bit dry though. So Cecil, up you go.
What next topic? Who's the best?
Oh yeah.
Who the best? I'm the best.
Who's the best tricker? You hear this one a lot. Everyone who starts out, obviously, like more beginners, always posting in the tricking group, like who's the best tricker? And there's lots of different opinions. People normally will either say Mike Guthrie, Jose, Johan.
Alexander.
People say Alexander.
Alexander because he's landed quad cork a bunch and now cork in.
Yeah.
But I don't like. But we'll get into
this. This is what we want to talk about, because it depends how you judge it. Now I'll tell you first. You tell me if you agree with this or disagree with any of this. But the way I would judge it is, I mean, there'd be two different categories. You could say who's currently the best at tricking, whose body's in the best condition for tricking and can do the most best quality and high level tricks right now. And then you could say, look at everyone's body of work, because there's loads of trickers who were fantastic, who don't really trick much anymore and stuff like that. And then you could judge it off their whole body of work, like all the best things they've ever done, who has the most of them. So you could combine all the best clips from any of their samplers to show that tricker, and then the other tricker, you get all the best clips from their samplers, which I think is a better way of doing it, because obviously people like Johan you could break his ankle tomorrow. Does that mean he's suddenly like not on the list? I think you should still count for like what people have done, and they'd still be on the top until someone else like surpasses the best thing they've done. That's the way I see it.
The best thing they've done?
The best level they've been at. The best all-round level.
Okay. I agree, but I think there's also other things that need to be taken into consideration when deciding who is the best. For example, are you talking about a specific area within tricking?
Or I'm talking overall. I think
but
Towels describe it as a pyramid. Let me tell you about the pyramid thing, because it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, cool.
So you could measure level, like everyone has a pyramid of their tricking. The highest point of the pyramid, the peak, that's like the highest level thing you've done. And then the width of the pyramid is like kind of how good you are in different areas. So if you're really good at a lot of different things, you're gonna have a really wide, fat pyramid. But if you're not that good at that many things, but you swung quad or something, your pyramid's gonna be really high but thin.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That's like Towels are talking about it. It's a good way of measuring it.
No, I think that's a good analogy. I think it's a good way of looking at it, and I agree with you. I think it is based on. I think when having this discussion, I think you should be talking about who's the best overall. But a lot of people don't see it that way. So if you do see it that way, you're wrong.
I don't think you can judge it just off one. If you go just off someone's twisting.
But this is what I'm saying though. This is a lot of people do kind of judge it like that, and that's an issue. I really think that's an issue, because they'll, for example, I saw so many comments. There was a thread in the tricking group about this a little while ago, and it was shortly after Alexander had landed quad cork, and because he landed it like quite a lot in a quick succession, everyone was like, well, Alexander's the best now. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Alexander is incredible, and I'd say he's top 3, top 2, top 1, 2, 3, something like that.
I'd say top 1.
No, but he is definitely top 3 for me, I think. And you've just got to judge it overall. And I agree with everything that you said. And expanding on that, I think all areas need to be considered, even things like execution, not just the difficulty in which you're doing the tricks and the combos.
Yeah.
Because you can do everything and make it look trash, but it's not worth as much. But do you think, because I know there's a lot of people that would probably disagree with that. And
True.
That's, to me, that's also an issue.
Obviously, I think it's pretty. I agree with that it's pretty important. Like how you do things is. And the whole point of tricking is it's an aesthetic art form. It's like you're presenting something that looks nice. It's about how it looks. So it doesn't matter how hard it is. If it doesn't look nice at all, then it's kind of.
But then,
it's fun and stuff. It's your own expression, but it's missing the point a bit, like of the kind of show aspect of tricking.
Yeah, I agree. But then, okay, if you judge it as a bar chart, for example, so you got all these different charts. You want bar charts. If you've got a bar chart and each bar represents a different aspect of tricking, so you got the technique, execution, style, and all that sort of stuff, and everything else surrounding, the way that you'll actually do the tricks and the level. If, for example, your level is really high, but then your execution is not as good, but then the technique is really good, so it's like here, and then here, how do you judge that? But what if it's the other way around, where your level isn't quite as high, but your execution is the best? It's just the best out of everybody. Your execution is Mike, but then your technique's also Mike. How do you judge that? What?
Marinus' technique is fantastic.
Yeah, Marinus.
For kids especially, it's like fantastic.
Well, pretty much everything. Like he can really do everything. Marinus is just a phenomenal athlete for real. Like he's one of my favorites of all time.
He's an example of not for the best, but just in kind of ranking trickers, I'd put him way above. Like whenever people kind of do their top 10 or top 5 or something, then yeah, he's normally way ahead in my books than 100%, a lot of the people they'd say, just because I know you got to have a range of things, and I'm not saying I have a massive range of things. I'm not that good at tricking. I try, but I'm not. Don't
take our tricks into consideration.
We're not that good. We try our best.
We're trying to be the media personalities. Don't attack the media, all right? But yeah, I think we're pretty similar in our views on what makes somebody the best.
Yeah. So
now, who would we choose?
That?
Yeah.
See, I'd 100% say that Mike Guthrie is the best. Based off of his body of work, is the best. Now, Jose's been doing some twisting things that are kind of a higher level, I guess, just about. The double full snapu double, probably the highest level single twisting move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I rank that as much. I see that as harder than like corking, to be honest. Because I don't know how. Think about it. You got to do a quad variation like that.
I've never considered it, honestly.
No one could dream of doing that.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same.
So that's like really mental, but then also you've got to take into account just all of the different combos Guthrie's done. Look through any of his samplers, like from 2013 to 2016, and just think, could Jose do this combo like that though? Maybe he could get through it, but how Mike manages to get through incredibly complex hard combos but do it really well. So he's not just doing full snapu semi to like Gumby trip. He's doing full snapu semi but with a really good kick in the snapu, landing seamlessly into the Gumby, really nicely into a nice twist in his triple cork, and landing all chill.
Yeah, with ease.
It's like you got to think about all of these different little bits. It's not just doing the moves; it's how well they're done.
Even the fact that the complexity in which he constructs his combos. If you watch a Mike video, if you watch any Mike video, there's pretty much, I'd say half of it, this is gonna go over your head first time round. You watch it again, and then half of that is going to go over your head. And then you can watch it 6, 7, 8, 9 times and still miss a bunch of stuff and be like, Jesus, I cannot believe, because it's all happening so fast and there's so many incredible things. Like, what was that video? He just did a very heavy front swing based combo, and I've never seen, it was in that video where his most recent kind of comeback video on the blue floor with the yellow kind of lighting. I'm not giving you much here, but he did a swing chain that was all front swing.
All front swing?
Well, like very heavy.
I know he did he did cork, swing, gainer semi, front swing raise, tap full mega to aerial semi, front swing raise, switch dub, which was really nice and complex.
Yeah.
And then I've seen him do before, what was it? It's like cork, gainer semi, raise, cork semi, raise, gainer switch, triple cork, like fantastically. And all the corkscrew stuff, like you don't see anyone else doing that. Yeah. There's just a lot of things that he does that you won't see anyone else do. And then you got to think of the quality of like his jackknife and every single kick, which is also an area where I'd say the other two candidates for the best would be Johan and Jose.
For what?
Maybe Alexander as well. For the best tricker in the world. Those are the only three you could you could consider. Yeah.
I saw Ilya do.
Ilya is, I guess if we're taking their whole body of
if we're doing the whole body of work, that's someone that needs to be discussed.
Ilya's
because
execution is phenomenal. He's got maybe like him and Mike are kind of on a par with my favourite style.
Yeah, me too. And also the body of work. Like, think about the things that he's done. If you were to compile every single video of anything that he's ever done, it would be completely absurd.
Yeah.
And he does in a little pocket that he just expands upon constantly. And I know it's kind of hard because he's dropped off a little bit, but like he's done a lot of world firsts. He's done he did wrapped up swing trip like years and years ago, before that was even heard of. But he just pushes and pushes.
The combos,
how his kicks are just
like he does like cheat 9 double with a rodeo to cheat 9 hyper to wrap 9 to like
vanish 10.
He has the best cheat 9 snapu in the world by far. No one else has ever done cheat 9 snapu anywhere near as good as Ilya.
Well, him doing Holy Land, I saw him do double cork mega raise like maybe like 6 switches to trip. And it was the most insane thing that I've ever seen. His control, that also needs to be taken into consideration. Like, he went from almost going off the edge of the floor to doing switches forward, and then like he's fucked. But I think he'd rank top 3 for me.
Well, he's one of them where it's like if I was just saying who's the best, like really incorporating all aspects of their tricking, I'd probably put Ilya above Jose.
I would.
Because I think, Jose does out-level him. Not by tons, even. Because remember, Ilya he did the first scoop quad, and he's done like touchdown raise trip, 4 switches to trip, like stomped. Yeah. And he's done some really, really hard shit. I think Jose does out-level him a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think the way Ilya does his tricks is so nice. It's like, I think he's so far ahead on that, and also there's more variety. Like he won't see as much as Mike, but he can do a lot of different. I know Jose can do a lot of different things. Yeah, but he can do a lot of different things fantastically.
But he does. I think a much wider range of tricks than Jose. I think it's like very obvious when you watch him trick. Like he'll just, it's so crazy, and I think that definitely needs to be taken into consideration honestly, it goes Mike, Ilya, and then to be confirmed. But I'm pretty certain for me.
What about Johan and Alexander?
I'm trying to decide whether it goes Johan or Alexander now.
If you're any of the trickers mentioned in this, and you're getting upset, don't be getting butthurt about it. You're one of the best trickers ever. Stop complaining. You get to trick. Don't have a broken ankle. Stop whining. Go do your flips. Alright? That's all I have to say. If Johan's watching this, that's all I've got to say to you, Johan. Alexander, that's all I've got to say to you.
Nah, but for real though, like I think
I'm being real.
No, I'm saying taking into consideration full body of work, yeah, that's my list. I think it goes Mike, Ilya, Alexander, Yeah, and I'm going to stop there. But
Like Ilya Alexander.
yeah, I think so. Just because
But range though. Alexander can.
Alexander can do a lot of stuff. He just doesn't post most of it.
No, that's true. But there's a lot of stuff, and then there's like tons of stuff.
Yeah, but who's going ahead of him?
Just people like Slava would be like a wider pyramid. Not quite as high, but Slava would be a wide pyramid.
True. Because I was speaking to Alexander about this when he was here, and I pretty much said to him, like, for the way that you trick, I think you're my number one right now. Just because, like, with
my up there for like my style,
Well,
I'd be,
just
like,
I think just
one of my very favorites.
Overall, because his style is so much better than pretty much everyone that's tricking right now. Like, because with Mike, he's not posting much.
Tricking.
No, I know he is tricking, but he's not posting much.
Yeah.
And you know, if we're talking about right now, I'd say. Yeah, I don't know. I just really fuck with what Alexander's doing at the minute, and he's.
Well,
probably,
we're not talking about. We're talking about who's the best.
Yes, I know, but I'm
Not
talking.
who you fuck with, Omid.
No, but I'd say for right now. Who would you say for right now? Who's the best?
What, for number one?
Yeah.
We already did number one. Go for Mike.
No, not for body of work. I'm saying right now.
Oh, right now.
Right this second.
That's a tough one.
Because you put them all. Okay, so you put them all in a gym
I'd say-
for a day, and you just
Okay.
see who does the best stuff.
So, I think Johan can do the most.
Yes.
I think right now Johan would be able to do the most, like, different, really hard combos, like incredibly hard combos.
Yeah.
And then Alexander would do the
Nicest stuff. Yeah.
The Mike's also will be doing really, really nice.
Ah, you
stuff.
see, that's
Mike
true. That is true.
Mike
yeah.
is tricking decent. He's doing
Nah, but you see,
triple
because
combos and
I
stuff.
didn't realize until maybe a few days ago that he was tricking like consistently. It was because the only things I'd know, like I haven't spoke to him for months now, so the only time I'd know of him tricking is when he just so happens to put something on his story or post something. But then when you mentioned, so that kind of changes things for me. But yeah.
See, we can't say with Mike because I've not seen enough clips of him right now, so I don't really know what.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know what kind of level he's at,
But
and
his
I know it's
recent
gonna.
video-
I know it's gonna be incredible.
The absurd one that he posted on YouTube that had quite a range in it, and he was tricking.
What absurd one? From the
It's
gathering.
just called Dubsurd. No, it's his promo for the gathering. The one with that combo I was talking about earlier.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
He was doing some hard stuff like double full. He was doing like double full snapper and D-leg twist and stuff and touchdown raise punch. But the thing is, it's how he's doing them. It's how well and how good it
That
looks.
double full D-leg
It
twist in
looks
that video
so
was
much better
fucked.
than everyone else doing.
Yeah. It looks so much better than
much
everybody
better.
else doing it. Anything. The
Yeah.
people doing full D-leg twists, like.
So I don't know. We're not going to be able to come up with a clear, concise answer for this because it's too confusing.
It's
and
too
I think,
vast.
I hope that gets across to people because whenever anyone's like certain, like, oh no, this guy's the best now, it's like you can't even be certain.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you can be fairly certain that in terms of body of work, then Mike's the best.
Yeah.
Because if you put it down on paper, if you just counted all of the individual different moves that he's done in all of his samplers, then I think he would definitely have the most. And also the most moves that no one else has done.
And also
Mike's got the most.
The best execution of the widest
I
range
think
of
it'd be fair
moves.
to say he has the best execution of. There's so many moves. Probably about 80% of the moves in tricking that anyone does, Mike does them the best.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
I'd probably
he
say,
can do most things
I'd
the
say
best.
more than that, honestly.
Nah, there's probably something you don't. There's something he just doesn't really do. That people
Yeah, but he'd probably still do it incredibly.
You can't
Every
go off
time.
probablys on it. We're not going off probablys here. This is the Omid and Kojo show. This is scientific.
This is science.
This is empirical. Alright? So let's keep it on task.
Alright, yeah, so basically, we don't know.
Yeah, so we don't know. I hope you enjoyed it. No, but I don't know. I hope this inspires you to think a bit about who's the best. Not that that's the most important thing anyway. It's just kind of fun to talk about when you're really into tricking. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of fun. To the people who say, "Oh, it's just down to opinion. It doesn't matter. It's just it's expression. It's art." One, yeah, it is. But it's fun talking about who's the best. So don't be a twat.
Don't be a pussy,
Chill out.
and think.
Like, who cares? No one needs to be getting upset about it.
we have the same response to you. It's just and I'm going to talk about it same way you don't want to talk about it. So
yeah, like when people say top 10 bands, you can't actually say who's the best band, but it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So
stop being a pussy all and think, what would Gigs do?
So yeah,
I want that tattooed on my neck. What would Gigs do?
So check out Gigs if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time. Let us know in the comments what you think. Who do you think the best tricker is? And if you're saying someone who's not the same as what I'm saying, give me a paragraph. Tell me why you think that. Back up your point. Don't just say something.
Also, Anise and Jeremy get special mentions because what they have done for tricking is, and also Jeremy doesn't get the props he deserves. No, he really doesn't, because he got
his the video on Kite's channel.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
and also, I was watching his Instagram compilations from years and years ago, but they're incredible. But yeah. Shouts to you, Jeremy. I know there's no way in hell you're watching this, but
it's just Cecil.
Yeah, Cecil. If you've got Jeremy's number, send him this. Anyway, see you later, Cecil. Much love.